Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Molly's Salon. It's pretty exciting to have everybody here and to have Ed and Parker and Joe with us today. And we're going to be doing this every week. So at 7 p.m. every week, it's just for half an hour. I'll be interviewing each person for 10 minutes. And the first time, I not sure if we're going to have any glitches. We had a few this afternoon as we were working this out, but if we do have glitches, I bet it'll be fun. So Parker, I'm going to start with you with that beautiful background. Parker, people know you because of your really, really beautiful work on Oklahoma or Newsies. Your work is spectacular and dynamic in the round. And next up is Catch Me If You Can. So I'll bet people would be really energized to find out how in God's name are you going to be auditioning people for Catch Me If You can't be in the same rehearsal hall watching them. So tell us.
It's super unique. I'm actually sitting in my sunroom right now, and to choreograph the audition combo, I rolled up the carpet in here and I cleared the furniture to create a dance studio so I could actually work it out. And then I recorded the combination for auditions, for dance auditions in this space. And I just propped up my iPhone on a shelf, hit record, and started breaking down the combination and added music, did it facing the camera and facing away. And our brilliant casting directors then take it away and hand it off to the actors to submit their own tapes of the combination from their homes. It's a really unique situation, and I think we're all just trying to figure it out together. And what's really strange is that we're not in the same room to be able to give feedback and make physical adjustments. Basically, they have the video that I give them, and then we, the team, are going to see what they interpret from the dance audition. So we're all being flexible. Everybody's being flexible with how we're casting this.
Now, Parker, Byrk Lee used to tell me you could tell as soon as somebody walked in the room by their hips if they were a dancer. Because I used to say, oh, that person looks good. And she'd say, no, no, they're not. Do you think that that's true?
I mean, I don't go right to the hips. When they walk in the room, I can hear Byrk saying that. I love Byrk. For those of you watching, Byrk's my mentor, and she taught me everything about choreography. And but it's true, you do know pretty soon. You know right away. And even when I'm teaching the combination, in the first couple minutes of teaching the steps, you get an instant read of the room and what people's technique is, and really what do they like to be in the room. Because I'm actually getting a feel for how they are as a professional and what their energy is in the space. And yes, you know that early on. You know that before you break them up into groups of 3 to audition. It's pretty quick. But I love that analogy by the hips. But you know pretty early on.
Well, I have a follow-up question then.
Yeah.
Because you were just saying you know people's personality. Now, we work with actors, and actors are used to really being somebody else for a living. So how are you able to see through to people within a short period of time to see if, oh, they would probably be a really good company member, or, oh, I think this person's trouble? How do you know that?
Well, first of all, it's how they engage as far as eye contact with me when I'm teaching the combinations, and 2, the energy they're creating around themselves with the people that are auditioning with them. Are they respectful? Are they smiling to people around them? That instantly tells me what kind of company member they're going to be in rehearsal. Also, if they're having a good time and they're outwardly showing themselves as, hey, this is fun, I love what I'm doing, they're pretty much going to be like that in the room. Whenever I teach class, and it's an audition combination that I'm teaching, like a mock audition, I encourage them to think of it as a party, that they're actually coming in to audition and they can have fun, and it's a party. And those that kind of release into that positive feeling in the auditions generally are the ones that are going to be the best company members once we hire them.
That's great.
Yeah, and also in a dance combination, you really don't get a lot of time to speak. So your outward energy and the way you attack the material says a lot. I mean, sometimes all I get to say is, "Hi, how tall are you?" and then they either say they say 5'7", or they say 5'7". That says a lot.
Yeah.
That says a lot about somebody.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
do they really know how tall they are? Yeah.
That's great. Okay, I have a question. You deal in the language of body and movement. And how do you imagine this time of social distancing is going to impact the way in which we move as human beings, and is going to impact you as a choreographer?
Well, first of all, that lack of being together to dance together is emotionally taxing. And there's something really exhilarating about being in the same space, sweating, breathing together, dancing together, and expressing yourself physically. And that's our way of expressing ourselves in one way, in the arts. And the fact that we physically can't do that right now is very hard. And I think when we're back in rooms, dancing and creating together, it's going to be emotional.
Yeah.
I think we're all going to feel it on a new level. And what I'm creating in my sunroom versus what's going to happen when we're back in the studio with performers and our fellow collaborators is going to be something I think we all will feel on a very deep emotional level. And I think it's going to affect my work big time. I mean, I'm in this space by myself, creating what I think is inspired in one moment, and maybe I question another. And the minute I have that energy to bounce off of back in the studio with dancers, it's going to be powerful. And boy, do I crave it.
We all do, but we have a moment that's going to happen with you, Parker. You're going to teach a dance class next
Yes.
Wednesday at 6, and here we are in your dance studio. So we've only got about a minute and a half left. If you can talk to us a little bit about that, and also maybe in the middle of that, what's the glimmer of hope you're seeing coming out of this?
Sure. I'm first of all, I think everybody, no matter what your ability is dance-wise, should come to my class, because we're all going to be together, sweating and laughing and breathing, and no matter, you could be a beginner dancer, come. We're going to stretch and have a great time, and that togetherness really does feed your soul. It feeds my soul, and I really hope that we can create a community through this class where people can express themselves and come together and connect. I think we all need to connect, and we're finding unique ways now to connect, and we have to think outside of the box to do so. So that's what I hope will be accomplished by this class. I can't wait to teach it next week on Wednesday. So please show up and do it. So hope, my glimmer of hope is that we as a world, if you will, we as a world, all the countries, we look at this situation and we come out of this crisis thinking that it's all of us. We are together. We're not only together in this, but we can figure this out together. And we all need one another, and we're all the same. And I really hope that perspective that I think a lot of us are feeling now is something that stays with us once this crisis is over, that we practice that, and we hold on to that.
Thank you, Parker. Come to Parker's dance class on Wednesday.
Come dance with me in my sunroom.
In the sunroom. I'm going to move on now to Joe Salasovich. And Joe has been a costume director for us at Arena Stage now for many years. And you're used to juggling so many balls in the air, and you've been a costume designer, and everything that you do is with grace and good humor. So your first crazy question is, what's the most difficult show that you've worked on at Arena Stage, and why?
Well, it it had to be not one show, but two. It had to be going from Sophisticated Ladies into Oklahoma. Because in the midst of that, there was one other show in there, our Buckminster Fuller, but in addition, we moved out of our temporary space into, well, we had been at 14th and T, into the Meat Center. And Sophisticated Ladies was, I mean, it just extended, and then back by popular demand, and one more week, and then must close now, must close, because we were backing up the shop. I mean, just from then, moving directly into Oklahoma, this sort of, it's a musical that I've known my whole life, but sort of doing it in the round and learning as much as I could as everybody was sort of building a new identity for Arena at that moment. I mean, from that March until that December, it was nonstop. It was nonstop, but I learned everything that I needed to learn about petticoats and tap shoes and split sole shoes. And, you know, it just was, there wasn't sort of corsets and parasols. There wasn't one facet of that span of time that didn't sort of use all of the skills that a costumer would need. And some wonderful people working on those projects. So I would say in the midst of keeping Sophisticated Ladies and that party going on 14th and T, getting the shop packed up, moved to the new Meat Center, starting up and moving into the amazing, flawless Oklahoma. It was probably the biggest test for me, but you know, I have the best team in the country. They're outstanding, and there's not a lot that phases them, actually. So to be able to have all of those folks who are just coming at it with all the love and all of the excitement, and then to be able to stand in the back of the theater and watch them. I think Sophisticated Ladies, I must have seen maybe 25 times. Oklahoma, probably 30 by the time it was done, including the very first preview and the very last performance of the reboot. So special for me.
Talk about, because there was something unique about Oklahoma where we used real cowboy boots and that for dancing. Okay, now that was Parker, and that was also Marty Pakladinas that wanted to do that. I mean, nobody would ever think to use real cowboy boots. So just talk for one moment about the construction of them.
So it was fascinating. There was this idea that, you know, people who wear boots, they're grounded in a different way. And anyone who's worked with Molly knows physicality and how you approach the work. It matters in a huge way. I think that having the cowboy boots, it was interesting. We literally filled up a dressing room and set up a boot store and had people come in, and some of these actors were just remarkable, and the dancing was incredible. They'd put on these boots. I'd be like, oh, do you think you could do what you need to in this? Literally backflips in the hallway. Yeah, I think I'm going to be okay. So, I mean, we innovated. We took shanks out of boots and turned some into split soles. We had LaDuca built some beautiful things for us. But those actual cowboy boots, the real ones, I don't think that they ever really looked as distressed as they needed to be until the very last show. But yeah, they were great.
It looked amazing. I wanna switch our focus, because since we are not able to do the last 3 shows of the season, you had this great idea with the costume shop about 3 weeks ago that you would move into building masks. And what does it mean when this highly expert group of costume artisans then move into the job of building masks? And I think I think you're now building something else as well. And at the same time, if you can talk about what kind of artistic advice do you have for the home sewer, for people that are thinking about making their own masks themselves? It would be great if you just talk about that, Joe.
Well, I mean, again, the shop, there's nothing that they can't do. And they're fearless. Almost immediately, everybody banded together and said, this is something that we need to do. Through our board of trustees, we hooked up with Children's National. And today we delivered the last of 1,000 masks to Children's National Hospital, which was fantastic. Within them, of course, everybody's going to put a different spin on it. I think if it's something that you want to wear, make sure it's personal. Pick something that's going to make you happy to put on. And also a practice version or a fitting is always a good plan.
This is what I wear.
Beautiful. It's good color. Good color. I'll show you some of the ones that the shop has made. So with some leftover Damn Yankees fabric, this is one of the ones for the kiddos. This was from Blood Quilt. This one I think is important. This is the one I've been wearing around. And I think this is probably the most important thing. You can tell that I washed it because it's wrinkled. Don't be nervous about wearing a wrinkled mask. Better for you to wash it and clean it. Remember, the shop doesn't function without wardrobe. Wardrobe doesn't function without the shop. Make sure you're washing your masks. But Sierra made some beautiful ones for the kiddos. Fun little kids patterns. This one is obviously, for anybody who knows Stephen Simon, that's his own special little mustache motif. But we're also making these headbands. So they're like a standard headband that has buttons on them so that the medical professional can put them on their head. And then when they go to put on their mask, instead of putting the elastic on their ear, they can button to the buttons like that.
Oh, I see. Right. Oh, that makes perfect sense. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we're working on these bands now for them so that they're not having tension on their ears all day. So that's the next big process, and it's been fun. We've had a couple designers jump in. Alona Samoji, who's one of the professors up at Yale, sent some. Ivania Stack's been sewing, and then also other theaters pitched in. Some Andy from Woolley and Brandy from Studio. So it's been amazing. It's felt really good to be able to keep the shop together. You know, the shop's still the shop. It may be remotely, but you know, but we're still together in mission, which is kind of what it's always been.
That's so great, Joe. I'm so proud of everybody. I mean, it really is an act of citizenship, and you guys are doing it. So talk to me, what are you seeing as the glimmer of hope within all of this? How do you think we'll change when we're through the pandemic? How will we be different as human beings?
Well, you know, it's interesting now. We all have this moment where we're connecting in different ways and outside of our comfort zone in a lot of ways. All of us have our caretaker instinct that's really kicking in. And I think that it's impossible to when you're in your home to not be authentic. And so I think there's a window into authenticity that we're seeing with each other, where people are being more direct and people are being just more honest about exactly who they are. I think from that standpoint too, when we come back, we are gonna roar back. I mean, listen, I think it's one of those things that there's not a day that passes that I don't miss that building and I don't miss the people in it. And like, I miss standing in the back of the theater and sneaking in to watch my favorite numbers or my favorite scenes. Like, it's why I do what I do. And I think the respect for my work has gone up a notch I never expected. You know, like, I think, you know, like, sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm the most jaded one. And then life just keeps surprising me from the standpoint where you understand how fragile everything can be and what a gift it is to be able to do what we do, and especially to do it who we do it with. And so from that standpoint, I just sort of feel like we're all going to come back, whatever that gel, whatever that filter, whatever we're going to be seeing things through. I think it's going to translate into how our work how our work translates to audiences and the storytelling. And for me, I think that's ultimately the most exciting thing.
Thank you so much, Joe. Just
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you.
We're going to move on now to Ed Gero. And Ed, you're a master actor, artist, a teacher. People have seen you in everything from Justice Scalia in The Originalist, Rothko in Red, and have seen you as Falstaff over at Folger this year. I mean, you are a man of the theater, and you have a theater as your backdrop behind you, which I think is pretty perfect. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. And also, if you could talk to us about how you just did one of the virtual pieces of art, the gifts of art with Arena, which everybody can see if you log on to arenastage.org under intermission, and under mission are all these beautiful virtual gifts of art. But what made you choose this extraordinary piece by Kerouac?
Well, thanks to you. You invited me to share a monologue. And the theater behind me, by the way, is the Teatro Farnese. It's the first indoor wooden stage in Parma, Italy. And I thought it'd be appropriate for tonight. But the Kerouac piece is really special to me. I've been a fan for many, many years. But there was a recording that Charles Lawton made in 1962. He did a tour around the country. He was blacklisted from Hollywood during the Red Scare after HUAC. So he went around colleges and did a 2-hour one-person show where he did stories from the Bible. He did scenes from Shakespeare, Shaw, personal anecdotes. And he took this piece from Dharma Bum's, the Kerouac piece, and made it sound like iambic pentameter. And I've been listening to it for years, but it's a really compelling piece because here's this beat generation poet who is in the story of Dharma Bums, which is a wonderful novel, goes up into the mountains by himself and isolates for 3 months. So I was drawn to that, and he has what amounts to a religious experience where he's out in the woods by himself, and a rainbow shows up, and he has a conversation with God. And I thought, well, that's something I think we're all doing right now. I think you had mentioned that to me too, but it resonated with me because, you know, we're sort of in this very fragile moment, and I think our spirituality comes back to us and we say, how are we going to get through this? And we rely on you know, the God, whatever you call it, whatever that power is for sustenance and so forth, and just to get in touch with yourself and your place in the universe. And I just found it compelling, and every time I hear it, it just moves me. So I just want to share that.
It fits you like a glove, Ed, and somehow you being outside with it, and with that little hat on, the little knit cap, and there's something about the soul of the piece that just comes out through your inner light, and we go dark and deep with it. It's really extraordinary. It's really beautiful. Thank you for making the piece.
No, my pleasure.
So one of the reasons why I wanted to ask these three artists on is you see that everybody is innovating and creating different things within the pandemic. And Ed, you now are showing us your skills as a chef. I think it's called, is it called Cooking with Eddie?
Cooking with Eddie, Mia Cucina, La Mia Cucina. A dear friend of mine, well, you know, Fran Dorn, who has been a colleague of mine in Shakespeare Theater, and she worked at Arena as well, is a great cook. And so many of my friends, Daniel Breaker, they've been cooking and doing Instagram stuff, and I like to cook. And Fran was doing some stuff, and I thought, okay, I've got nothing to do. I would really love to just, like, it gets my performance energy out. So I just tried it, and I made this dish, this Parmigiana dish that you've had, that our friend Johnny Quinto from Italy made, and I took his recipe, and everybody just kind of went nuts with it. And I put on a funny hat, and this is a really nice one. I just got this one today, and I'll show you this, and I do that, and then I could take you into my kitchen. There we are in my kitchen, and I do this thing, and everyone kind of liked it. So I invited you to do one, which you did, but and I call it share a recipe or isolation kitchen. My culture, food is love, and I just wanted to make it sort of a way to say, I can't be with you, but I'll share some food with you, and let's eat well and be positive, stay healthy, and make do with what we've got. And it's just kind of fun. People have been responding to it. A friend of mine, a colleague from Chicago, who was my dresser in red, did a recipe for us the other day, and it's just kind of a fun way to be together and share some food and share some ideas. So I'm having fun. I'm already off the street, but it keeps me out of trouble at home.
Well, not only that, but the recipes are delicious. It's delightful. It's fun to watch you cooking in the kitchen. It really, really is a blast. And the eggplant parmesan, delicious.
Oh, good.
So Ed, you're also a teacher, and I'm really curious about how you're working with young people online and how that's changed. If you found any high points with doing it.
It's interesting. We had a spring break right at the beginning of the isolation. We extended it. I'm at George Mason and at George Washington, but at George Mason, we extended it a week so that everybody could shift all their work to online. And in 1 week, people who had some experience, no experience, a lot of experience, we migrated 5,200 classes in a week. And when we came back together, it was a tonic, just even if it was virtual like this, to be able to get back to the work. The students who now, the performances that they were planning to do that were in rehearsal, all been canceled. So we had to find ways to serve the students. Of course, a lot of it is going to has become more script analysis and so forth, but we're working on monologues. But I think people are just happy to be together. We're reading plays. My script analysis class is reading. We read Death of a Salesman out loud. We're going to read Cat in the Hot Tin Roof out loud, so we can actually hear the play and the verse speaking. So I think in this medium, for actors, a lot of the skills are going to be vocal skills. I mean, there's voiceover work to get done. Yeah. There's books to be read. So there are hard skills that we can teach, like going back to old radio stuff, right? Let's work on vocal stuff and like that. And that's, but what I'm finding is that the students really crave the routine and the sense of normalcy and the ability to just share. It's really important. They're traumatized. Some of these kids, particularly the undergrads, they're working their way through school. If there are issues with, do they have access to computers? Do they have access to the internet? We're recording the classes so people can access them later. Rick Davis, our dean, said, gratitude and latitude, to be easy on ourselves, to be easy on the students, and to be grateful that we can come together and do the work that we love to do and still have a sense of community and a sense of what the work is that we do. It's a privilege to do it, and it feeds me when I go to class and be with the students. It really does.
Well, you're feeding all of us too right now, Ed, and I just really appreciate you coming on to the Salon. I can't wait for the next moment of cooking with Eddie. And next week, I'd love for everybody to tune in because my guests will include Charles Randolph Wright of Motown and American Prophet, Seema Sawayko, who has directed at Arena not only Right to Be Forgotten and The Heiress, and Karen Zacharias. She's the playwright of plays like Destiny of Desire that premiered at Arena, and one of Arena's power playwriters, and she will join me in a next dynamic conversation. All three of them will. Next week, we'll have 10 minutes each. And we're reading all the chats. We can't get to them because God knows I could have each one of these guys on for an hour, and we would have a great, great, great time. But remember, for everybody, love is going to get us through. take care of each other, wear your mask outside, right? When you're walking, when you're going to get groceries. And we're going to make it through, and Arena's going to come roaring back, and all of our theaters are. And much love to all of you. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.